Good evening from yammybtv. Wishing you all well today. Sending loads of love as usual. I was going to take a break today, but decided against it because we've been on such a good run lately. I didn't want to spoil it. But the truth was, I was at hospital for most of the day, going back for the results that I told you about with the MR scan to do with the spinal cord. The results remain the same. The cyst is in the same place it was 18 months ago, not any larger or any smaller, but no need for them, they say, to operate because it's not that dangerous for me right at this moment in time. So the rest of it is that I'm a spinal patient for the rest of my life. So the injuries that I've got are degenerative, which along as time goes by are going to get worse. So not really much else to report on, for better or worse, really. Just basically everything very much the same. I'll probably elaborate a bit more tomorrow if I have to, if you want to hear it, that is. But I suppose I've just got to be grateful that I'm here today to be able to share my story and life experiences with you, to deter and prevent and to get the message clearly across about those places and what it's done to men like me and where it's left us at this stage in life the longer that it goes on. So yeah, thinking back on the way back from the hospital today, I was remembering times where not only are we faced with inmate battles whilst you're in those places, but you also have the staff that play their part as well. And I came up with a few today that I remembered, and they are all incidents instigated by staff, gassing up other inmates to fight with other inmates and causing friction, and most of the time turning a blind eye. But on one of those occasions they turned a blind eye, but it ended up tragically wrong for all concerned, and they're still paying the price for it now. But I was looking back and I was looking through the archives. Monologue, 1996, Parkhurst. In a dinner queue, a geezer called Fligo from Brixton, some of you might know him, Colin Gale, done a life sentence, believe he's out now. Don't know where he is, how he's doing or anything like that. I knew him from my young days because he was affiliated to some of those close to me in Brixton around about that time, and he was doing a 14-year stretch for allegedly living off immoral earnings. Like, living off immoral earnings is basically being a pimp, if you like. So many say that being a pimp is as bad as being a bacon bonds, if you get what I mean. Others say that it's not so bad, you know, because everybody's in agreement with how it works. If you're asking me my opinion, I think it's not really a nice crime to be committing, if you get what I mean. But many might have different opinions on it. I don't know. Maybe you'll tell me later on. But we're in the dinner queue, and there's a Welsh lad called Steve Early from the Valleys, can have a right row. And Colin Gale turns around and says, Fligo turns around and says to him, hold on, mate, I was near the end. You got to the custard bit of the queue where an officer was at the one dishing out the custard, right? So Hurley's directly said, all right, mate, sweet, go on. I was just going to get mine and just go on. No, go on in. So he's let Fligo go and take his custard. So he's gone away. Steve goes to take his custard, and the officer says to him, how does it feel to let a pimp talk to you in that way? And Steve directly turns around and says to the officer, well, there's not much really I can do about it, because if I was to go and batter him, I'd be the one down on adjudication getting nicked. And the officer turns around and says, well, I'm on ED tonight, which is evening association. And if you want, I won't be looking if you want to do anything about it, kind of thing. So there you are. He's given him permission to go and have a row with him. So it's happened. They've gone into the TV room, packed out, everybody waiting, like we've talked about many occasions on yammybtv. And they've both gone into the room and gone helter-skelter and having a row. Right, proper row. The early stages, it looks like Fligo's landing the heavier blows, but the fight has gone on quite long And Steve is a fit man. You know, most of them from down the valleys, they can have a row anyway. It's true to say, very known, common thing, not bit of knowledge from prison as long as I've been in there, that many of those from the valleys can have a right row. And it turns out that the longer the fight's gone on, Steve's battered him in the end and left him kind of sprawled out, bruised up, bloodied up and everything. So everyone's left the video room. There's 2 screws on the landing down the bottom. Nothing said. They see everybody come out of the video room, go downstairs, go to their cells, nearly bang up time, and then gone into the room to pick up the pieces, taken Fligo to healthcare. What happened? Oh, nothing much. Done my felon, hit my head. Screws knew full well what happened. Nothing done about it. All right, you let it go, and he got a hiding. That's what you wanted him to get, and he got it. But this is not a thing that happens infrequently. It happens every day you're in there, really, because all you need is an inmate making a lot of noise upstairs, banging their doors and whatever, and then everybody else getting on their bell saying, how come we're late being unlocked and blah, 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 blah. And an officer would turn around and say, well, don't blame me, blame him upstairs. And that person, why, what's he doing? He said, you know, other inmates take it that, oh, because of he's banging his door and keeping all the staff busy away from normal duties that they have to do. It's because of him why they're unlocking everyone. So they're creating a hiding for him. I've seen that on many occasions. Another one I saw, which is an all too familiar one as well, where colours involved, a lot of race, black, white, arguments, all is not always, but you know, sometimes end in fights. And there was a skeezer called Steve. He was from South London, and he was arguing the point with somebody else in front of people, saying that it's not right for a black man to go with a white man, or a white man to go with a black girl. It's against the culture, it's against whatever argument he was putting up. Everyone was like, oh no, don't be serious. You can't be talking that kind of talk. You know, he was deep into, probably fair to say, a black activist of some kind, if that's the right word to name now. Another geezer, some of you might know, Jason Burrows, eventually ended up getting life, I believe, for allegedly murdering a lady, his girlfriend, apparently. I read it in the newspaper somewhere. I was quite shocked. Because I didn't see him. Well, no one ever seems to be what they can be, if you get what I mean. But he wasn't too much of a bad bloke, if you get what I mean. I thought he had good morals and scruples, as far as I remember. But anyway, leave that one alone. So we've all gone on the yard in the afternoon, and they're still arguing about this thing, the black and white, girl and man, and boy and man. And either way, so Jason's taking it on himself. The screws have said to him, because he is number one. When you're number one in the old days in Camp Hill, it's fair to say, those that remember, the screws used to go to the number ones first and stir up the trouble and say, listen, he's got to go. We want rid of him. He's a pain in the arse. And not all inmates, number ones, would do it. But there are some that will take on the job of doing the job for the officers to get rid of inmates, if you get what I mean. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I've seen that time and time again along the years as well. So we're on the yard, and I already know that he's already been fed this by the staff in his head, you know, grumbling, talking about white women and all that kind of stuff. So when the arguments carried on to the exercise yard, the same officers are on the yard. And it turns out Jason does up his trainers, does him up, gets up where he's sitting up off the floor on a summer's day, and gets up and says to this geezer, so what you're trying to say is that because I'm with a white bird, I'm a wronger then, basically. And the geezer's saying, well, I'm just saying to you, when you look back in history, whatever argument he was making, bang, right? He's got a right hand, and he's like that. And then he drops on the floor. Straight away, the staff have come. You could see they were over the moon, right? Everyone was watching And basically they took an arm each, not like they were restraining Jason, you know, like they was walking him like neatly and tidily and talking to him like, you know, he was trying to make it look like he hadn't had any conversation with them beforehand, that kind of stuff. And basically they're going, well done, we never saw nothing anyway, so not nicked again, got away with that. So again, instigated by staff, putting the pressure on other inmates to go and do their dirty work. And again, gets deeper and deeper. We knew about the one with the sad one from Long Lartin way back in the day, where 2 inmates got convicted on the word of a member of staff, saying that someone was a sexual offender. Apparently, allegedly, apparently it's not them anyway, but the wrong 2 got convicted. It's a long-standing argument. But whatever it was, the officer was meant to have stirred up the trouble, said he's a sex offender. So whoever's gone in there, has gone into the cell, weighed him in and killed him, right? 2 people have ended up in court for it, got found guilty. Apparently the wrong 2 people. But again, all caused by a member of staff's words, right? So remember the one I told you about, me as well, way back in the day when I got the stabs in Swellside. I was on the yard, right? Down a block a few weeks later on another matter, right? So you remember the stitches were there, and there. So I was kind of walking very, very much as I do now, where I was walking sideways and the stitches were brand new. So I couldn't really afford to get into any fights or anything, just in case they all came undone. And in Swellside in them days, down the block, you could go on the yard with 4 or 5 people at one time. So a lot of dealing could go on from the seg onto the exercise yard. Now, during that time, the person that stabbed me and H was meant to have been down there as well, and was down there. And on one of those days, because he's not allowed out on the yard with me for whatever reasons, is that they're aware that me and him have got war. But again, the screws don't like him. So on one of those mornings, they put him out on the yard with me. And as soon as he's already on the yard with 3 or 4 others, and I come out last and the gate opens, as soon as he sees me, stop, stop, he starts screaming loud. And on the yard in Swellside, if you've ever been down the block in there, or if you haven't, the staff office is up there, right above the yard, and the windows were open. When he started screaming, I'll never forget it. They locked the windows, like to say they're not listening to the screams or anything. But got to tell you, I let you all down on that day. Or I wasn't up for it, and I was scared that the stitching was going to come undone, and it was going to be worse for me. So basically, I didn't fight him back. I just left it. Take it how you want. I didn't fancy it that day, and I didn't want the stitches to come undone. So he was talking to me from a distance. Oh look, yeah, nice one for not getting me in trouble and that. If you need anything, he was trying all that shit. So now I forget it and all that. Later on in the evening, I was going down for my tea down the seg, and I was walking down, and the screw said to me, he said, "Oh, you let me down there, Yammy boy. I thought this morning when we let you out there with him, you was gonna go and wank, get your own back and do him and all that." I said, "Nah, not really for me, Gov." Kind of thing, that kind of stuff. But again, put it together themselves, set up the situation so that it could happen. The last one I'm going to give you is about Diney, Ricky Sweeney, a real deadly one they've done, right? And they've done the same thing to Slaney as well. Shows you when they're after you, especially in the Cat A's, when you're a bit of a string vest, a pest, when you're getting on everyone their nerves and you're making their jobs harder and you don't play ball with them. There's ways of them getting you back. And there was a geezer down the block in Full Sutton who was at the wing. He's a block geezer. He doesn't like to come up. One second. Doesn't like to come up on the wing ever, right? A bit of mental health, runs up debts and all that, doesn't stay on the wings long. A geezer's propositioned him out the window. I said to him, listen, if you can go up there and do Diney or whatever, go up there and do him, I'll pay you this and pay you that. So all you got to do is say you agree to go on normal location, and you can say to them, all right, I want to come up from the block now. I've had enough down here. I'll play ball, but as long as you put me on such and such a wing, right? So they normally don't want people down the block that want to be down the block, if you get what I mean. So he's come off the rule 43 that he was on to be down the block, to go upstairs, and he's run up on Diney in the shower and cut him up while he's washing himself and all that, and then headed out the showers straight down to the office, put back straight down the block, and basically back to where he was. And then, of course, they got to bring Diney down there, poor bastard. Brought Diney down there. When they locked Diney up in the cell, because obviously he's got a few cuts and all that, nothing too serious, nothing that he couldn't handle, old Ricky. And as soon as the door banged, I'm hearing that all the screws were going, yeah, cheering, clapping, and everything like that. These things take place in the cates all over the place. Trust me, I mean, loud cheering. They did the same to Slaney when he had a fight with someone one day and he got bitten on his face, and because he had a lot of history for knocking him out. When he had a bite on his face or something and he was in his cell, they were all laughing at him through the door, like going to the door and going, see, look what's happened to you and all that. I mean, proper winding him up. So, again, not just battling with the inmates when you go there. Be very careful, because you got those to watch out for as well. And there's no rules to this thing at all. So that was Fast and Furious. No, I'm not going to be up later. Let me rest today now. I just thought I'd share that one with you. Love you loads. See you all soon.